Hey guys, my name is Stephanie. This is my first vlog. I don't really know where to start. um, I guess I can start with a little background. Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm very distractible. I am 24. I live in Utah and I am diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And it is hard as fuck. um, I recently filed a case for intermittent family medical leave because I can't work anymore. I can't work full time anymore. It's hard. I am having dissociative episodes where I can't focus on my job, and it's distracting enough to where I'm being sent home early, or I'm sending myself home early, and my productivity is going down and I'm not meeting the standards of where I'm supposed to be. That's been my biggest issue lately. I'm 24. I already said that. I'm married to my spouse. My spouse is non-binary, transitioning. So that's been cool. I right now am experiencing an episode where it's kind of a manic episode. I'm experiencing all of the symptoms of a manic episode except for the elevated mood. So I'm having panic attacks, I'm having irritation, I am having impulsivities, but I'm not happy all the time. I feel stable, but I'm not at the same time. I suffer from auditory hallucinations, and they're not fun at all. I'm sure anybody who's ever suffered from them understands that they're actually kind of scary. I don't really know what my vlog is going to be about. It's probably going to be just a day-to-day thing about how I'm feeling and what's going on and what's up, I guess. What else can I say? I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 16 when I was first diagnosed. I was first wrongly diagnosed, which happens a lot with people who are bipolar, with just clinical depression. They put me on SSRIs, so antidepressants, and those didn't work. At first, they just didn't work at all. I was still experiencing depression, and I'm still experiencing anxiety, but I wasn't conveying to my doctor the level of anxiety that I was having and the other symptoms that were coming along with my anxiety, which was the elevated mood, the agitation, the impulsivity, mostly because I was so young and the impulsiveness that I had wasn't as severe as I experience it now. Other than the fact that I was using drugs. But I wasn't telling my doctor that. Sorry, there's a jet flying by, so if you hear that, that's obnoxious. After being on 5 or 6 different antidepressants, they placed me on Zoloft, which is pretty hardcore for an SSRI to be on when I was 16 at that point. And on Zoloft, I tried to kill myself. And that was a really heavy and dark time in my life. And they reevaluated me and they said, "Oh, you're not depressed. Well, you are depressed, but only sometimes. You're actually bipolar." And I was diagnosed bipolar type 1. And type 1, there's 2 types of bipolar. Well, bipolar is very complex. There's rapid cycling bipolar, there's type 1, there's type 2, I won't get into all of it, but there's a lot of different subtexts of bipolar that people can be diagnosed with. But I'm bipolar type 1 because I did have a manic episode. There's hypomania, which is a less severe episode, and then there's mania, full-blown mania, that includes psychosis. I had a full-blown manic episode that caused me to try to kill myself, and then I was diagnosed with bipolar type 1. A lot of the times I experience hypomania, but I do have full-blown manic episodes every so often now. So at that time, they put me on a mood stabilizer, and just the mood stabilizer at first. That wasn't working by itself. Then they put me on an antipsychotic, and the first one didn't have a generic, and it was very expensive. And medications for mental health are really expensive, and it didn't have a generic, so I couldn't afford it. Or I should say my dad couldn't afford it because I wasn't paying for it. So then we switched to Seroquel, which did have a generic, and that was my magic concoction. That was my cocktail that worked for my brain. That was when I was 16. I was on those medications for 2 years. I was seeing an adolescent psychologist and psychiatrist, and when I turned 18, both of them decided to discontinue my care. My psychologist said that I didn't need talk therapy anymore, that I was doing really well for myself. I basically graduated talk therapy. And then my psychiatrist told me that I didn't need to be on meds anymore. So we tapered myself off, or not myself, but we tapered me off both of my medications, which was hard, but I did it. And then I was non-medicated for 2 years after that, and it was not good. I ended up moving to Utah. This was all in Arizona. Moved to Utah a year after that, so when I was 19. Lived with my now spouse for a year unmedicated, and I didn't have health insurance, so I couldn't afford the medications. So when I got my job that I have now and I had health insurance that I could afford, we had a discussion where I needed to be back on my meds. And before I got this job, I couldn't hold down a job. I couldn't regulate my moods. I was having manic episodes all the time. I was threatening to self-harm. It was a disaster. And so I got back on my meds. All they needed was a note from my psychiatrist, and they wanted my psychologist's records, but my psychologist couldn't release my records without my dad's permission. And my psychologist knew my dad wasn't going to give permission, so she just wrote a summary of care. Oh, man. And when I read that summary of care, that's when I figured out my full diagnosis was bipolar disorder 1, complex PTSD, and acute anxiety disorder. So I am just full of fun. So I've been medicated. I've changed my meds since then. I have switched from Seroquel. I'm now on Abilify because the Seroquel made me sleep too much. I work a day shift. I used to work night shift, or swing shift. I used to work swing shift, and I could sleep in, but now I can't sleep in. So I'm on Abilify now, and we recently added lithium because of the rapid cycling that I've been experiencing and the dissociative episodes I've been experiencing. And I see my doctor again next month, and we're probably going to end up upping my lithium because I'm still dissociating and I'm still rapid cycling. I'm only on 600 milligrams right now. So that'll be a fun experience. probably vlog after that one. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. That's kind of my background. If you have any questions or anything, go ahead and leave it in the comments. If you have anything that you want me to talk about specifically, leave it in the comments. I'm excited to do this. I have been thinking about doing a vlog for a really long time. It's going to be basically like a diary. Thanks for watching.